I absolutely love growing trees from seeds, and one of my favorites to grow are magnolias. Hi, everybody. I'm Aubrey, and this is Cryberry Settlement Homestead. Thank you for joining me today as we actually transplant some of these magnolia trees. I actually planted these seeds about a year ago from seeds gathered from a cone-like structure. Very interesting seed pods, by the way. They look like almost like a pine cone, but the seeds are like a fruit color covered little gem. They're red, almost like a red berry, and they're just really beautiful. The flowers are these giant saucer shaped large white flowers that smell incredible. They're pollinated by beetles, not by honeybees, because they actually evolved before honeybees. So they have a different scent to them. They're really, really lovely. So I want you to take a look at this video. I'm going to pop a link to it in the comments and in the description. But this is what they look like. And you want them to be fully mature. Now you have to be careful because squirrels will actually go after the seeds. They are really attracted to these plants. So whenever I would come across these seed pods, I would not leave them out. I would actually take like a pot, and I actually put all of these seed pods in the pot, and I put another pot inside of it, and like weighted it down so that squirrels could not get into them. And then when I came across them in like March or so, I thought, oh no, I messed up because I forgot about them. But they needed to be cold stratified anyway, and they weren't sprouting yet. There are a few that look like they're just barely about to sprout. So I went ahead and I densely planted them in a few different pots. And so this is the one I planted the most in. And actually, as I started transplanting a few of them, I noticed that there are more seeds in this pot that are going to sprout, like they're about to. So you don't want to dry out magnolia seeds if you want them to remain viable. You want fresh seeds, and you can remove the pulp. I actually show you how to in that video. Um, the pulp does seem to inhibit the growth of the plant, but by the time the seed would be ready to grow, the pulp will have disintegrated and broken down. So if you're going to plant them outside, you don't have to remove the pulp. What I would do is just put the seeds with the pulp, with the seed fruit on it, into water. And then whenever it's easy to push the seed out of the little seed chamber, it's like a skin almost. When it just squeezes easy, it will like kind of it'll like a slingshot out of out of the seed, out of the pulp. Then you know it's ready. You can just remove it that way. If you leave the seeds out, if you leave those cone-like structures out, the squirrels will find them. They have like a radar that says, like, literally, this is delicious, eat it or something. So you definitely want to hide them from the squirrels. Like I said, I did like a double pot method where I put the cones inside of a pot, and I put another pot inside of that, and then I weighed it down with rocks and plant another plants. And then you just remember where you put them. And then you can remove the pulp and stuff. It was kind of gross because I actually wrapped some of the seeds in paper towels, and the paper towels became really slimy. So maybe don't do that part the same as what I did. I would do something more like layers of peat moss or layers of cocoa coir so that it would be easy to separate them and you wouldn't have to deal with slimy layers of paper towels. So here I'm just doing is I'm working through, like, this is really densely planted. So I'm just working through and removing the trees that are on the outermost part of the pot because I know I'm not going to finish going through all of them today. And so I decided to go with just the ones on the outside, whether they're smallest or largest. it didn't matter if it was on the very outside perimeter of the pot. Those are the ones that got to be potted up today, because I just didn't want to disturb the roots, or I did see some of the seeds look like they're about to sprout, and I don't want to like lose them in like the garden. I want to keep them together. So I was like, you know what, I'll just go ahead and plant like 10 of them. So that's what I did. I took the 10 from the very outside of the pot, and then I put some more soil in the bottom of the original pot. So if you are kind of overwhelmed and you don't want to have to do something in the whole project in one day, you pull it out, take them from the outside around, the circumference, around the perimeter, and then put more soil back in the original pot, plant it back into the original pot, and put more soil around the edges. And that buys you time. So that's what I do when I'm kind of like a little overwhelmed. If I have too many plants to transplant, is that I will do the things on the outside. Sometimes it works out where you can easily remove the ones that are the largest and plant those first. But because there were so many trees in this one pot, the only way for me to get to the middle ones and skip the ones around the edges would be for me to disrupt their root systems, and I didn't want them to go into shock. So, I'm using this compost that's been breaking down for 2 years, and it's really nice. So, by like, see what I'm saying? I'm just taking the ones from the very, very outside, and you can see that it's still got a seed right there. That's a seed, but that seed is not a magnolia seed. That is a cherry. And guess what? My cherry seeds all over my yard are viable. So, I might pack some of them up and save them for planting later. I probably will bring in a bunch of those cherry seeds into my class and let the kids plant them. A lot of people are really against planting fruit seeds. And the reason is because they want a known variety. So if you have this favorite variety in mind, you're like, this is what I want, well, then you're going to get a clone. You're going to clone that tree instead of planting it from seed. If you plant it from seed, it might be like one parent or the other, or a little mixture of both. Sometimes it's the best of both worlds, and sometimes it's the worst of both worlds. But whatever you plant, you will get that same type of plant. So if I plant a cherry, I'm going to get a cherry tree. And if I don't like the fruit, if it doesn't taste good, if it's mostly seed and just a little bit of flesh and it's sour, you can always graft a more desirable type onto it. And with stone fruits, you can graft on other types of stone fruits. So that's something you could try out too. And I've decided to let some of my cherry suckers that are around the property, let them grow a little bit. And then I'm going to graft on some varieties that I know I really like, just because I think that I'd rather practice on the suckers than pay for rootstock and practice on something that costs me too much money. So if you have like suckers growing around your property, you might decide to use those for practicing on. So that's my cheap, frugal way of practicing my hand at grafting. Is I'm going to be grafting onto cherry suckers. And I'll be grafting different types of cherries. I'm going to try my hand at grafting plums onto cherries. I don't know. I've never tried that before. So we'll see how well that works. It might be kind of like an organ transplant. Is it a viable donor? Okay. So what I like to do, and it's easier obviously to do with two hands, is I'll do a little bit at a time and kind of work it in, shake it. And the reason why I'm shaking the pot is because that gets the soil in between the little root fibers, so that when you press down on the soil to make sure that it's nice and secure, you're not ripping them apart from each other. So shaking it a little bit does work that soil in between the root fibers, and I found that to be extremely helpful. It saves time and energy, and it also seems to really help the plants out. So I have a lot more magnolia trees to plant, and I actually came across another couple more other pots that I had at least a few more. So, I mean, how many do we have in there? Like I planted 10. So I think there's probably twice as many still in the pot. And there's also more magnolia seeds that haven't germinated yet, but still could. Um, so one thing I wanted to say about magnolia seeds, and I say it in another video too, is do not buy dry magnolia seeds. If you buy dry magnolia seeds or dry pawpaw seeds or dry ice cream bean seeds, most likely you will have a they're not going to sprout. They're going to be dead. So, I actually learned that from somebody when I first was looking for magnolias seeds. I actually bought some seeds off somebody. I think it might have been off of eBay. It was definitely before I discovered Etsy and things like that. So I bought some from someone on eBay and they didn't grow. And they were like a dry seed pack. And then I bought some from somebody else on eBay and they sent me like the actual little red fruits that are surrounding the seeds and with a note. And the note said that if you've ever tried growing these from dry seeds, they probably didn't sprout because when they dry out, they die. And so that's something you should know about magnolias is that you need fresh seed. So do not dry them out. Um, so I decided that the best use of my time growing magnolia is to just put them outside. You can put them in the refrigerator, in a damp paper towel, in a Ziploc bag for like 100 days before you try planting them. It just seems like a lot of work when you can just let your outdoors temperature do the work for you. So like I'm saying, seriously, I mean, I did remove the flesh on these. Um, so I soaked them and I removed the flesh and I put them in a pot and I put another pot inside of it and I put some rocks in there so the squirrels wouldn't eat them. And then when I transplanted the seeds into a container, I used a really short upside down waste paper basket, metal one that looks like a little grid. And I put that on top because I knew the squirrels would try to eat my little trees. They already ate my sunflowers and they eat my corn and they eat my hazelnuts. And I knew I had to protect those precious little trees. The squirrels have actually eaten entire baby oak trees of mine. The root, the entire little plant and all, not just the seeds. So they think that we're giving them sprouts or something. They're like, oh, this is super organic, delish. Okay, they don't know that you're not doing it for them. So this is hyperspeed. Gotta do it fast. I'm getting tired. Let's work fast. Okay, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I don't know how I did this on hyperspeed, but I couldn't reverse it. So we're gonna do it on hyperspeed. Um, but I felt pretty satisfied because I mean I transplanted 10 magnolia trees. The parent plant of this tree um is giant. It's a historical landmark. It's just absolutely stunning with huge saucer shaped large flowers and beautiful. I'm so excited about it. And I have way more to transplant later. I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure you check out my other video about growing magnolias from seed. Be good, be sweet, grow garden if you want to eat. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.